Podcast hosted by myself, Stuart Brisgell, but with David Solomon, where we bring you unfiltered, uncensored conversation on a wide range of topics. It's dedicated on giving you a platform to express your opinion, our opinions, and share thoughts, experiences, and ideas from a variety of perspectives. Honest, truthful, always. Join us as we dive into the latest news, pop culture, politics, and so much more. From the rants about absurdity, modern life discussion about deeper issues affecting our society, we got you covered. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey of discover exploration. It's time to join the Rant Network. David, when you called me up earlier today and we decided to discuss, the media, the lies, the tainted truth about the manipulation of facts in America. That's a quote for Cynthia Crozen from Simon & Schuster from 1994. Mm-hmm. The U.S. press is like the U.S. government. It seems to be corrupt, troubled institutions. Corrupt isn't in as much sense as it accepts bribes, but in the systematic sense, it fails to do what it claims it should do or did do. And in that, David, no one is sheltered. Right? David, it's a vicious circle of mutual manipulation, of myth-making and self-interest, and journalists dramatize the news. David, what do you got to say?
Okay, so let's take a step back and where Stuart and I are beginning. So, it's fascinating that when we started the Rant Network, and it's really cool to see some of our old 2-year-old, rants pop up on Facebook and part of the memories of the Rant Network. And if you go back then, the comments we heard was, hey, remember, this is 2021 when we started this 2 years ago, but we started talking about, the Hunter Biden laptop and why wasn't the Hunter Biden laptop story a bigger deal? There was also a year earlier, back in 2020 and early 2020, that the origins of the COVID virus was from a lab in Wuhan, China. And that story came and was completely annihilated, both in the media and on social media. And so what's happened today is that the media is now being called to task and saying, why? Well, we found out with the Hunter Biden laptop that aside from the complicity of the FBI, guess what? The media wanted to shut down the story on purpose. It was going to influence an election. Now, if you think I'm nuts, crazy, I've spoken to several people recently, Americans, who voted Democrat, who said, had I known about the Hunter Biden laptop and that the Bidens are so corrupt, I went to vote a Democrat. The media succeeded in achieving its goal. And if you think it's a conspiracy theory, this has been going on for generations between the complicity of the media and political parties. Now, the Wuhan lab theory, same thing. We were talking about literally manipulating the population. And Stuart, what's fascinating is that now, like when the beginning in 2020, when they first came out, it got legs, immediately got crushed, and I mean crushed by the media, to the point where if you suggested it on social media, you were banned.
We were banned.
We were banned. Okay, and now here we are, almost 3 years later, and the Energy Department and other departments in the United States are going, there may be some validity to this story. Believe it or not, MSNBC journalists and other journalists are still contending that it is a false report from the departments, that this is not true, that there is no proof. And the media is manipulating us bit by bit. I'll give you a third example, folks. The January 6th insurrection. The media called it a deadly insurrection, the worst since the Civil War. Jean-Karine Pierre, the wonderful press secretary, regurgitated that remark. And I'm thinking, let's see now. Since the Civil War, This is the most deadliest insurrection where one police officer died and had nothing to do with the insurrection itself. But the story is being destroyed by the media. Why? Think of the thematic of all three. What is the commonality of all three? Wanting you to be persuaded that the GOP, the Republican Party, is not your party. That only the Democrats know what they're doing and can save you. And it's a fascinating thing of how this manipulation, because whatever the GOP says, please notice it's the exact opposite. If a conservative news source reports it, you'll notice that the liberal media reports the exact opposite. Stuart, to this end, the media has manipulated us to the point it's basically lies the media keeps telling us.
David, as we are currently in the corner with Facebook for showing a media picture that freely exists in the news because it doesn't fit the narrative or the review that Facebook did. Nor did our temporary bans during COVID, during the Hunter laptop with their fact checkers. Remember, fact checking only began when the Democrats wanted to push a narrative. You know, I got to tell you, there is hatred for both parties. There is definitely a disdain for the divisiveness of both parties and the narrative-based reporting that's been going on. But for me, what I find the most abusive is that the media agencies are refusing to practice best practices of journalism, making them not journalists anymore, not reporting the news, or they should change the definition of news to be something other than the word news, because it's deplorable. It's disgusting. You know, they hired ABC news director and producer to put on the January 6th
hearings.
Right? Here. So what are we to take from this? You know, they need an agency level producer to get a point, withhold information and present the case with only the facts they want you to hear, not all the facts. And if the facts can be twisted, they would twist it. And you're right. If one party says blue, the other party has to say black. And David, it is an abuse of power, and it is, I believe, an election violation. And I think the manipulation of the FBI and by Twitter, by Facebook and others, the FTC's selective enforcement against Twitter and not Facebook is all going to come to light. And you know what the problem is? The Republicans start feeling sorry. They start being religious zealots and they'll learn their lesson. They won't. I have a philosophy, David, that in the event that there is a disagreement, that demand letters are the most useless letter to be sent. A veil threat. I believe in filing suit. And if the Republicans are not going to file suit, they should do nothing. If the Democrats aren't going to file suit and be responsible for the slander, then they should not. That is a divisiveness.
Okay, but Stuart, again, this is the interesting thing. Arm of the arm of the political parties. But the belief is it's the media. And Stuart, if you think about it, and you know, look, here's the thing. We could see it. MSNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, NBC, all these like major networks have been the peacock, if you will, of the Democratic Party. They're spewing whatever the Democratic Party is spewing, the media is regurgitating, and vice versa. It's an interesting coordination between of messaging. Yeah, they could say, yeah, they challenged Biden about the documents, but even that went quietly. But when it comes up to pointing fingers at China, all of a sudden you can't do that. That's racist. That's wrong. And the liberal left is pushing that, and the media is feeling that. January 6th insurrection, nobody called out the fallacy behind this, okay? Only thing that the media is doing today is calling out Tucker Carlson for playing around with footage. And again, it's a distortion of fact. I'm not saying that Fox is right either. I mean, Fox has got its own angle. But it's a fascinating thing that the liberal media, which collectively is very strong and very powerful and is delivering an orchestrated message that's influencing not only Americans, but public opinion around the world to make you believe that, you know what? COVID didn't come from China. The January 6th insurrection was deadly. The Biden laptop, smokescreen. Fascinating, right? When this has now come to light, what has the liberal media done? Turned its blind eye.
You know, listen, I'm putting a quote up on the screen that I grabbed from a Harvard Business Review. Pulitzer in 1883 accomplished something that is now thriving in America and probably the cornerstone of the demise of news, which is the Pulitzer. The Pulitzer brought drama to the news by turning news articles into stories with plots, actors, conflicts, and colorful details, aka a villain and a hero.
Absolutely.
In Pulitzer, and the Pulitzer Award is literally, in my opinion, nothing more than a propaganda tool.
That they all
and
want to win.
The precursor to what I will call Soviet-level deception.
You keep going back to that. But I think that it's really, let's get away from the term Soviet. Call it media control. Because you know what? When you see what it does to people, and like, for example, a Whoopi Goldberg, who's now comparing, stuff to 1984, and the joke is like you're just repeating, a parrot who's repeating the same crap, and then you think you want to be smart, but like you see where this is going. The average individual today is confused, okay, misinformed, because they're not taking the time to research it. They're not taking time to read the articles. They're not taking time to do it, because we live in a high, the highlight world. We live in a TikTok world. We live in, and imagine, if you will, that getting our information from these sources and saying these are reliable and they're just repeat. And think about it. If tomorrow morning you say Joe Biden's my man, Facebook, and you say that on Facebook, only articles that are positive about Joe Biden will fill your feed.
Well, that's also with ChatGPT. ChatGPT was created by a left-wing powerhouse where if you ask it to describe Donald Trump, it's going to give you a negative narrative. You ask it about Biden, it's a positive narrative.
Exactly. And you know what? I did it at work. We tested it. You're absolutely right. And you could see right now what's happening here is that this effort to sway votes, and I don't care if you're north or south of our borders, it's the same thing. The media is complicit with the government and with social media to literally manipulate your minds, not to inform.
And there's another fact that I grabbed from that same Harvard Business, one of the most woke colleges in the country.
Yep.
And look at they may be woke and broke and want to get away like Columbia from using SAT scores. Again, all I can tell you is the coverage in Virginia, as we're going to have to wrap this up, Dave, about how they left out all the Asians and whites from any college help. David, I'm going to say goodbye. I just wanted to drop that in. I'm going to have to say goodbye, Dave. I'm going to have to give the close. You ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, stay well. Stuart, wrap it up, buddy.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you kept tuning and listening. The Rant Network, so long as Facebook doesn't ban us again. We hope you enjoyed the conversation, gained some valuable insight. We appreciate your support and hope you join us next time for a thought-provoking conversation every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Eastern. In the meantime, don't forget to follow us on social media. Don't forget to check us our website, because you never know when they're going to stop us, hold us back, bar us. And you know what, David? We got some other fancy graphic. Where's that QR code?
Oh, yeah. Let's put up that QR code. Ladies and gentlemen, please, if you can't type in the rantnetwork.com, please scan the QR code. And guess what? It'll take you to our website that will soon be redone, revamped, reorganized. God willing.
Say goodbye, David.